We're going to begin with new details this morning about that plane crash in Toronto. A Delta jet carrying 80 people ended up upside down on the runway after landing. 3 people suffered critical injuries, but most of the passengers managed to walk away uninjured. We're going to talk live to one of those passengers in just a moment. But first, transportation correspondent Gio Benitez starts us off on the scene there in Toronto. Good morning to you, Gio.
Hey, Robin, good morning. Yeah, we traveled overnight to Toronto, and we can tell you it is cold, it is windy, it is icy, almost exactly as it was when that plane crashed. A wing ripped entirely off, the other broken in half, and yet incredibly, every single person survived.
Everything, drop it!
This morning, new video showing the chaotic moments after Delta Flight 4819 flipped over on the runway at Toronto Pearson International Airport.
Yo, I was just on this plane.
In this video, obtained exclusively by ABC News, passengers seen hanging upside down in the cabin, held in by their seat belts. The flight crew seen standing on the ceiling.
Come on!
Helping passengers scramble to escape.
Don't take the video! Get going away!
Peter Koukov shot this footage as he crawled out, telling CNN he didn't know something was wrong until they hit the ground.
We hit the ground and we were sideways and then we were upside down, hanging like bats. It all happened pretty fast. The plane was upside down, obviously. Some people were kind of hanging and needed some help being helped down.
The plane with 80 people on board, seen in this footage obtained by TMZ, touching down just moments before, a fire sparking and a massive plume of smoke filling the air.
The 1 minute you're landing, kind of waiting to see your friends and your people, and the next minute you're physically upside down and just really turned around. But it sounded, I mean, it was just cement and metal, you know.
Passenger John Nelson filming the moments after the crash.
Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
The Delta regional jet, a CRJ-900 aircraft operated by Endeavour Air, departed from Minneapolis Monday afternoon, heading to Toronto with 76 passengers and 4 crew members, landing just after 2 p.m. local time.
Just so you are, there's people outside walking around the aircraft there. Yeah, we've got it. The aircraft is upside down and burning.
Emergency crews racing to the plane, 18 people injured and transferred to the hospital, including a child. But amazingly, everyone survived.
Most people appear to be okay.
Airport emergency workers mounted a textbook response, reaching the site within minutes. This outcome is in due part to their heroic work, and I thank them profusely.
Overnight, Delta saying the company sent a specially trained care team to support passengers and their loved ones. Ron James saw the smoke right before he was supposed to board his flight at a nearby terminal.
All of a sudden, the fire trucks and then a helicopter get, pushed out on a trolley and thought there was something wrong. And then we're going to get on the plane, and then they just said, no, you're not going anywhere.
At the time of landing, winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour. The cause of the crash still under investigation.
This is an active investigation. It's very early on. It's really important that we do not speculate. What we can say is the runway was dry and there was no crosswind conditions.
So investigators are going to do their work. It is going to take some time. Obviously, they're going to be looking very closely at the weather to see if that played a significant role here. But I got to tell you, there's something that we can learn from all of this, because a lot of times when we see these evacuations, we see people bringing their luggage out. In this case, everyone just ran out. They left everything behind. That's exactly what you should do in this kind of scenario, and that is how you survive, George.
That was very smart. Okay, Gio, thanks very much. We are joined now by one of the passengers, John Nelson. John, thank you for joining us this morning. Walk us through what happened. Any warning at all?
No, it was a normal flight from, Minneapolis. I had been on the flight from Detroit coming into Toronto here. I was paying attention, watching out the window as we were coming in. I did notice, the winds were whipping pretty hard, and the runways were snow-covered.
Did the pilot say anything?
No, there was no warning. We were coming in for a landing, and when the plane came in, we hit the runway really hard, and like extremely hard, and we kind of popped up, and it felt like we were leaning to the left. And then what happened was it was just incredibly fast. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
So you're saying how many times? Do you think you flipped more than once?
I'm not sure. It's at least once for sure.
And then, so you're hanging upside down. How did you get out of your seat?
Yeah, at that point, everybody was quiet for a moment or two, and then everybody was trying to scramble to make a sense of what just had happened. And so we released the seatbelts that kind of fell to the floor, which is now the ceiling, and helped the lady next to me get out of her seatbelt. And then you heard the flight attendants yelling, "Open the door, everybody take your stuff and, get out now," right? So they were professional. They were trying to get us out as quickly as possible. Everybody in the cabin was, I would say, relatively calm. We all worked together and got out of there as quickly as we could, because we could smell fuel as we were getting out of the plane.
That's really remarkable. You're saying it was silent after you guys flipped over, and then everybody pretty calm?
Yeah, I mean, in the moment, it feels hard, but yeah, I would say that everybody worked together, and we just helped each other get out of there. People tried to pick up phones as we were crawling out of the plane, and once we got out, that was when I took the video that you saw, and then shortly thereafter, there was another explosion from the far side of the plane, and firefighters and EMT were trying to get out of the way, and they were professional and on site very quickly.
What was going through your mind? Could you believe you'd survived a crash?
No, it's something that I don't think you can ever even really prepare for. I just remember as we were tumbling, I was just trying to I tried to just keep from hitting my head, right, and just try to protect myself and my body. I was trying just to do the best to make it through it.
And you had your seatbelt on the whole time?
Yes, absolutely. Had the seatbelt on the whole time.
Has anyone from the airline contacted you since the crash?
Yes, we were escorted throughout the airport for the day. They did put us up in a hotel. There's been an airline representative helping us get toiletries and clothing and try to make travel arrangements for today.
Well, we are glad you're okay. It sounds like you and your fellow passengers really did keep your heads about you in an unbelievable situation. John, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is there, brave, George. Thank you for that. We're going to turn now to our aviation contributor, Colonel Steve Ganyard. And Colonel Ganyard, thank you for joining us this morning. What can you tell us what might have happened on this flight?
Yeah, Michael, there was a very interesting video that's come out overnight that shows much more clearly the airplane just prior to touchdown. So it looks like a very stabilized approach. It looked good. As Gio said, the weather was not great. It was gusty. There was a bit of a crosswind, and there was some snow. But what we see as the airplane touches down, it touches down very hard on the right main landing gear, and the right main landing gear gives way at that point. The airplane begins to skid, and the nose coming right, and then it begins to tumble. When it tumbles, it takes off the right wing and most of the left wing. Now, this was actually good because most of the fuel in that airplane is held in the wings. So that fireball that we see right after the airplane began to tumble, most of that was away from the airplane. If you look at the charred wreckage there, you can see there's just some soot on the side of the airplane. So it's good that most of the fireball was actually detached from the airplane. The other thing to look at here, Michael, is look at the hull. Look at that cabin. It's intact. That saved lives. If that cabin had broken apart, if the hull had broken apart, this probably would have had a much different outcome.
Yeah, and as scary as that all looked, I mean, there's some good in that, which you've explained with how it actually all happened. So, we know all that video is going to be analyzed, but what are the next steps in this investigation?
Yeah, this one will be pretty quick because obviously we have good video. Everyone survived. We'll be able to interview the pilots. All of the cockpit voice recorders and the data recorders will be there. So I think that this one will be figured out pretty quickly, and we should have a good answer about why this happened so that hopefully we can prevent it from ever happening again.
And if you look at publicly, it seems like there have been a lot of scary plane incidents lately. How concerned should travelers be right now?
Yeah, everybody's concerned. You know, I got family members saying, hey, is it safe to fly? It's still 100% safe to fly. This is a statistical anomaly, and it is very safe.
Yeah, that's some good news, because I've been getting the same messages you have.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Colonel Gagnon. We appreciate you. Robin?
I think we all have.